Hey, Pi. So, funny story here. Chris probably won't even remember this because he was still messed up or maybe just getting his act together.
Yeah.
But I think it was like maybe 8 games another time that I decided, let's go try and play again, right? And so that was when you were with Flint, and that was Kevin Kerr.
Yeah, Kersey, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a gong show. We were playing Fort Wayne, and I can't remember who it was. The fighter on their team, smaller. And anyways, he tried to go at me, and Chris threw his coffee or hot chocolate at him, and then eventually got kicked out of the arena in Flint, sitting in the stands. How did you get involved with hockey? Family life, all that.
All right. Well, I grew up in a small town, obviously, Tavistock, at 1,200 people. Double C Center. Our closest AAA, AA was hour away, and I just played Double C, minor hockey. But small, 10 kids on a team, 2 different age groups, and basically just lived at the rink. Any chance my dad could get the ice, or Saturday mornings we used to practice at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, and Dad would be down with the guy opening the rink at 6:30 just so that I can go on the ice for an hour before practice, and just mucked and grind all the way through minor hockey until playing junior B at 15, 16. And then obviously on from there to playing in the O, played with you from my 16 to 20 years, and 4 years of major junior, and 9 or 10 years of pro, whatever it was. And that's about it. And I ended up playing with kids 2, 4 years older, 6 years older. I played junior D when I was 13, 14 against 20-year-olds. I was in the middle or just starting puberty, waiting for guys to shower that had beards and smoked darts and had a beer after a game, and I'm in my do I put on swimsuit because I don't want them to it's different when you're a boy playing with men, but the older guys it was like a joke, but they kind of took a liking to you and protected you, because back then I was a fast little jitterbug. I didn't really body check or hit or fight or anything because I was young. All I did was skate with the puck and skate circles around everybody and score, right? So the older guys used to always take care of you. And yeah, that was a long time ago, but that's some of the stuff I remember, being young and growing up.
Then you get drafted into the first round into the O to Windsor. How does that happen?
I know, right? Well, it's going back to what I was saying. Having this junior B team come down and watch me at 13, 14, it was kind of the buzz in the rink, right? Because the older guys always wanted to play there, but they weren't there to watch, and they were, the young kid, whatever. So I ended up playing there 15, 16 junior B, and that's when my eyes kind of got open, because now all of a sudden there's agencies and agents that are coming to these games, and they're trying to talk to me after, and now you have a lineup of agents at 15 years old, and then next thing you know, halfway through the season, our team is 30-1 or 20, we're a standout junior B club. You have all these colleges and U.S. schools, and you're getting mail and envelopes and letters and recruitment trips and what's your interest. And next thing you know, you're rated for the OHL draft. And it's you just went from double C minor hockey to junior B, which is a huge jump to I got freaking agents and schools and and then our team went our team was gross. We won everything. And, at the end of the season, I got a binder at home. I got to find Dad, get him to. I think I had 17 college offers, and by the time all the interviews for the O and stuff, I probably talked to 75% of the teams. Windsor was a team that I didn't even talk to be honest. Yeah, and then you end up going there, right? It is crazy. I remember getting drafted by them and Dad saying, like, the very next weekend, jump in the van, we're going down for a weekend. And like that was like my first time in Windsor. I remember.
What was it like playing with Matt Cook? Do you got any stories about that?
Oh yeah, lots about Cookie.
No, I actually ran because I was playing. I played in the BCHL. I wanted to go the college route, and then he was playing for Vancouver at the time, and he knew our owners, and I bumped into him a little bit and talked to him briefly. But yeah, I just remember Rick, I think, made the Windsor Star on the front page at one point, and then yeah, I'm sure you guys have some good stories to chat about.
On the front cover too.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Probably. For up to no good.
I was driving my car that night, by the way.
Huh?
Cookie was driving my car that night, by the way.
Probably. What a meat stick. No, Cookie, I remember my first camp going there. I was just drafted in the first. He came into camp, and his like first 2 inter-squad games, he was hitting everything. And I remember, like, who the hell is this little twerp? Like, he was just like a foot shorter, just huge hockey mullet, like, and I'm just like, what is going? Who is this kid? Like, he's making himself look like an idiot. But then game 3 and game 4 came around, and I was like, this kid hasn't stopped. Like, and I remember him like being, hi. I remember actually at the draft, I remember him coming up to me. He was like, hi, I'm Matt Cook. I was like the team's 14th round pick or whatever. And I was like, okay. And he was like, keep your head up. I'm coming at you at camp. I was like, what? Who is this little, right? Poo stain. And there he is at camp, like running around. I was like, huh. And then I think he was like one of the first ones out of our draft that actually signed with Windsor that junior year. And I got to give it to him. He worked hard. Like he did on the ice, practice, games. He worked hard. Was he a bit of an idiot? Was he a bit of a shithead on and off the ice? Yeah. But that's the way he played. And he didn't. He probably should have back in the day dropped the gloves more to back himself up and not have other guys do it for him. But man, he did what he had to do, and he had a good career. And
yeah, I think it's a great example of somebody that you can be a role player, and if you keep it simple, for those that would be interested in, I mean, you can go a long ways when you really figure out your identity and how you can contribute to a team, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got a Stanley Cup now, and that's all he did was he hit.
Yeah, like he just ran around. And junior, like he had a good year. His 1 year, he scored like 40 tucks in junior, like almost 2 points a game average. And that's from he was like a third liner. Even in junior, he might've played some power play and top 2 lines or whatever, but like realistically, he was a third line junior player and a third, fourth line NHL guy that, yeah, he made a career, and good for him. And he's probably, I can't speak for him, but I'm sure that there's some situations that he had options and choices to make when he was playing, and some of his dirty hits and this, that, and the other, like that's Cookie. Like he didn't. We all have made mistakes on and off the ice, and
sure.
Some of his decisions that he made on the ice were a little bit more extreme than most, and it is what it is.
Good stuff.
Was there a certain coach even maybe before that kind of breathed life into you to advance your career in hockey?
Dale Dunbar. Dunner was probably my favorite junior coach. I had Mark Hunter in Sarnia. Hunts was pretty good, but Dunner was more. I remember I went to Erie. They're in the middle of like a 14-15 game losing streak, and my billets were out of town, and I threw a team shaker, like my first or second week in Erie. We gotta break this streak and get to know and become a team. And I threw a shaker at the house, and I remember like cleaning up for like a day before the billets came home because they were gone for the weekend. cleaning up and got that all out of the way, and it was all good. And I remember going down to the rink, and my billet must have called the coach or something, and Jeff had a shaker, and this isn't what blah blah blah. And I remember Dunner pulling me in, and he was just like, from Boston, like a huge like accent and everything, right? I remember him just saying, like, I played college hockey, and like when I look at you, I kind of chuckle, because like you remind me of myself when I played, like just hard off the ice, hard on the ice, give it all the whole time, everything for the boys, not great at any one particular thing, but really good at everything, like everything, just good, like off ice, team leadership, on ice, like you can do whatever. And he's like, I'm just telling you right now, like, there's a time and a place to have some fun, and like you got to start learning it now, because you're a year or two away from pro, and like this is where you gotta hunker down a little bit, right? And it's having that coach that kind of let you run like a wild horse a little bit, but at the same time, like, he would smack you in the head and be like, okay, you owe me, right? Like, that's where I can't remember if we were together in Windsor, where Gillis or somebody used to have like that bank analogy where you put in the work, right? You put in a couple hours of work, that's a couple bucks into the bank, and you perform and you win, and then you can take a withdrawal and have a couple bucks to go out. And, so that kind of...
What went through your head when you got traded to Sarnia? What did that feel like? How does that adversity define you?
It was priceless, because I was a captain in Erie, and I had Paul Terrio was the coach that year. He just came back from coaching with Ted Nolan in Buffalo in the show. And he was like, as a captain, you're the first person that I would trade, because if it's going to go downhill or rebuild, it's the captain that's got to go. And I was just like, you ain't going to trade me. Like, I'm right. Like, I'm one of your ways. Because I hurt my knee right around Christmas break, and I had like 20 goals in like 20 games or 24 games, like 2 points a game. I was on fire playing with Tim Connolly on the line. We were like 4th and 5th in the league in scoring, and I blew my knee out from that overage tough guy Richard Scott in Oshawa. I don't know if you remember Scott, right? Because I body checked him in the boards, and he hit the boards, came back and took my knee out. Anyway, I was on fire at the time, and I was like, there's no way I'm getting traded. I was rehabbing. There's no way I'm getting traded at the deadline. And I remember like Mike Rupp was living with me, because he got traded from Windsor too then. Me, Rupper, Tim Connolly, everybody just kind of shooting the shit. Well, like, our phones are back on, nobody got traded, deadline's over. And then I remember like Steve Harrison, the assistant coach, going, Zehr, you got to come down the rink. I was like, what? No way. And going down the rink and being like, yeah, we traded you to Sarnia. And I was like, what the, like, why? How come, right? But Sarnia was going for it that year, and they kind of loaded up. I got traded for Proskornicki and some defenseman, Half Kenny or something, and a draft pick. Chichu woke up in Game 7 and scored 5.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember Crow Daddy.
Yeah.
Croft telling me like, this Chichu is something else, like, right? Like, his background and everything, Moose Jar or Moose Factory or wherever, Moose Factory, I think, like, the res life kind of thing, where it affects some more than others, where there is like no rules, right? And these kids grow up with no structure, and their way of handling pressure or tough times is go right to the booze or right to drugs or right to, they don't know how to handle it, right? And I remember Croft saying like, this Chichu, he's been dry, like he sobered up for playoffs and he's having a tough time. And like the GM or owner was like, Cheech, like, we need you. And they gave him a 40-pounder and locked him in a hotel room in his hometown. And he pounded a 40-pounder, and then he comes out and gets 5 in Game 7. Right? Like, if we did that nowadays, like, we'd be in jail. Like, you can't do that shit, right?
Completely different.
And you know, you've heard stories. You guys have heard stories like that's what they had to do with like Bob Probert and Brian Fogarty and Chris Simon and the Sioux and Niagara, and when they were going away on a road trip to make sure that they made the bus, they'd you know, throw a case of beer in the dressing room and lock the door, so that when they came down the next day, they had them for the trips.
Islanders that drafted you?
Yeah.
First round.
No, I was
second
pick in the second round.
And so, what happened after Sarnia?
So I finished Sarnia. Obviously, we were talking with Millbury and the Islanders about signing me, and they offered like one offer around Christmas time, right around the time. I can't remember if it was. I think it was just before I got hurt. And I remember talking with the agent and being like, turn it down. Like, I'm not signing now. I'm on fire, right? You know how it was back in junior. Like, if you lit it up, like you had teams by the gonads. And I was like, I'm on fire right now. Like, playing with Tim Connolly and Mike Rupp, who are going to be first rounders. Like, a lot of attention. I'm turning it down. It was a half decent deal. I can't remember specifics, whatever now. But then I got hurt and I was out like a month. I only ended up playing like, I think I played like 10 games or something for Hunter in Sarnia after he traded for me. And he was like, you're sitting for a month. And just, I went down the rink every morning and I rode the bike for an hour with him. And I worked out with the team strength guy. And then I practiced and didn't play. Just, that was every day. I had to ride the bike with Mark Hunter for an hour every morning, work out with the trainer. Because remember Sarnia, they had the restaurant upstairs then. Yep. He would pick me up, buy me lunch, and then I go down the room and sleep for like an hour and then team practice. And that's what I did for like a month. And then I led our team in playoffs and scoring. And I fought, do you remember Chris Barch?
I
do.
do.
Played in the show. I ended up fighting Barchi a bunch of times and Jason Metcalf, and I still, Novoselica broke his thumb. Like game 1 or game 2, so he was done, and that just kind of put our sail out. Like everybody just kind of packed it in, but Sirens and I did okay. But ended up New York was trying to come back. They wanted to make another offer, but they wanted me to go to Lowell in the A to finish out the year. And back then it was like, you don't do that unless you're signed on a contract, right? Like you don't want to risk, or you don't want to give them the ball in their court. So we turned it down. Not that I have any regrets, or I don't live my life with any regrets, but if there was one thing I would have done, maybe tried different, maybe I would have went there. But I ended up getting Millbury and New York's permission after that then to start seeking, because I was going to become a free agent, because we weren't going to come to terms. So then I think the agent emailed or reached out, whatever, to all the teams, and that's like I became a free agent. I think so because I was a draft pick, your free agency started in June 1st because they allowed you a free agency before the draft. It was because July 1st is the normal free agency, right?
Right.
But because they're a draft pick, I think it was like the month before or whatever. So it was like 6 days. And I had an offer from Phoenix and an offer from Boston. And I ended up taking the Boston one because I was like, I just want to sign and know where I'm going and blah, blah, blah. And then, it's like crazy where it went from there. I basically signed in July, and in August I spent the whole month there training with those guys. And that's when, like, I did a couple camps and exhibition games and all that kind of stuff. But like when you're there training every day and getting on the ice with like NHL guys, it's, when you're a kid coming up, it's like such an eye opener, right? Like you're just like, man, I really got to pick up my game and get serious, because like these men are animals, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's how that next little bit went. And then I stayed in Boston for camp. I stayed up with Boston right until like 2 days before the season started, my rookie year. Skating, working out every day by myself, not with the team, just because my knee was still garbage. And then I got sent down to Providence, and I did the same thing. It was like all of October and November, basically. I practiced every day with the team, skated for an hour afterwards, worked out, never played. I wasn't cleared to play yet. And then it was like, I think it was the third week in November, I finally got to play in Providence. On a Friday night or something I played, and I had two of my buddies from Tavistock down to watch my first pro game, my first AHL game. So I took them out to a couple of establishments till like 4 a.m, got goosed, and go to practice Saturday morning, like Saturday meeting morning, and I get called in Peter Laviolette's office after the meeting, and I'm like, man, I must like really reek or something. Like it's, right? He knows I was out all night. And he was like, congrats, you're going up to Boston. You're playing tonight against Washington. I was like, what? Like, no way.
Like, I knew I celebrated for a reason.
Right? And he's like, yeah, like you.
Am I being punked right now?
Right? Yeah, like that's what I thought. I was like, get out of here. And he's like, no. And he stood up and shook my hand. And it's like the hottest, warmest feeling sensation of like, 20 years of trying to get there, and all of a sudden it's like, fuck, I'm going up to the show, man.
Yeah.
And after that adversity of like battling through your knee and having to work out and show up and just really grind, I could only imagine what that felt like.
Well, and that's the thing, and I like went back to the apartment. I didn't have furniture yet, so I got like two of my boys from a town of 1,000 people in Canada down in Providence, sleeping on a floor in the living room, and I'm kicking them, and they're like, what's good? And I'm like, we're going to Boston. So like, what a weekend, right? What a weekend for my two boys. They get to see my first AHL game, my first NHL game, and we got crushed after that game in Boston then, with like a huge surf and turf dinner, like out on the pier, like something that, they still talk about it every, like coming from a small hick town, right? To like, all of a sudden they're in a city and like wine and dine, and you just, how it is. Every actor or professional athlete or musician or model or whatever, like you're throwing free this, free that, have this, have that. Right? So these guys are like, who the hell?
Yeah.
Right? Did you stay? And Pat Burns is the coach there, and he's like, I hope you rock clothes because you're coming on a road trip. Right? So next thing you know, I'm in Nashville, I'm in Carolina, I'm hanging with these guys, and I was like a schoolgirl, man. I was so giddy and happy, right? But at that time, it's like I wasn't 21. I was still underage. I was still only 20. Like I didn't turn, because I have a late birthday, December. So I'm up in the NHL at 20. It's November, turning into December. I don't turn 21 until the 10th of December. So I'm playing up there as a 20-year-old, going to Nashville to not like these bars with like Dave Vanderchuk and Ray Bork and Joe Thornton, who is even younger than me, but like you're like they're NHL stars, man. It's just, you look back on it, it's like it's so silly and stupid, but as you mature and get older, and it took me a couple years to actually respect the game and respect myself and like take it more serious. And what I went on like my gift alone, right, for the first couple years, well, all of junior and my first couple years of pro, where if I would have maybe had the business mentality at a younger age, and somebody like with a harness or a whip like toning me down a little bit, maybe things would have been different a little bit, or my health or the amount of problems and stuff. But whatever. It's like
I really had messed up in my drinking days. At that age, you're trying to navigate, who you are. At the same time, you're dealing with the attention and the popularity of, being decently successful as an athlete. And then my goal was to sober up for the following season. I got a call one day from Jim Nill, Ken Holland's basically right-hand man for the Wings. And at that point, I had actually just relapsed and I was high, and I just thought it would be funny to talk to somebody, so I'm sitting there and he's like, hi, is this Chris? I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, hey, this is Jim Nill with the Detroit Red Wings. How are you today? I'm like, pretty good, Jim. I'm high out of my mind. Basically, during that conversation, he was like, let's develop a relationship or rapport, and, let me know which minor pro team you end up playing for. And then, hopefully we can get you out to camp. And I never called him back, because I knew that for me, I'm like you, like I don't regret anything, because today, I mean, I have everything I need. It's like the simple stuff in life, like giving it, yeah, it'd be awesome to be able to, touch the ice and play a little bit, but it kind of fulfills that young dream that we all have. But I think for me, that probably would have been my moment. I just knew that I needed to sober up so I could be at the top of my game to be able to even have a chance. But that was definitely kind of my moment. So it's cool, definitely, to be able to tie that in and wrap that, around, to be able to, if there's any young studs out there utilizing your story, at least to have that a little bit, maybe to give them a virtual smack on the head if they're messing up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's just, there's more means of having confidence and being able to ask for help and ask for guidance now than what, like, it was unheard of before. Before, there was probably coaches that we even had that were like, go home and have a 6-pack or rub one out, or like take down some right? Like, that's how we grew up.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Right? And it's not like that at all anymore. Like, you can't, right? You have to have resources that you can get the help for whoever if they need it.
Biggest thing, if you can kind of put into a tangible sort of a message, what do you think would you have appreciated throughout your career, along your journey, that would have been beneficial to you kind of leveling up? And what do you feel like you could have used at that point? You did mention like an outlet, but do you have anything like, I guess, a little more specific that you wish you would have had, along that route?
I just think with nowadays, like, I know it's changed a lot, obviously, over the many years, but like having somebody or more people in my life that would have been able, maybe not necessarily ground me or harness me up, but more people that like would have helped me take it more serious. Does that make any sense? Like, I had the gift, the talent, but like mentally I was still like, I became a dad at 17. I'm supposed to mature and be responsible, but I was still being like a hee-haw, bit of a donkey, somebody to like, that really would have like reined me in and like really seatbelted me, basically, with a lot of, opportunity and chances that I had. Somebody that I almost like a twin, or somebody that would have been like right on me. Like a life coach, yeah. Like somebody,
That's your life coach right over there.
Yeah, she just got back from a run.
Figure it out.
She walks in and she's just like, "You're an idiot." No. As she's walking away, she's like, "Just let me talk." Yeah. No, that's where I would say, non-hockey players or athletes have no idea what it's like to like hit the wall, go through it, and then rebuild and keep going from there, right? Because that's how I know it usually took me every year. It didn't matter what league. It took me 4 to 6 weeks to get to where I was actually good, right? And that's all summer training and skating and power skating and everything, and going into NHL camps, like buzzing. But like, it still took me a month after that to actually hit my stride.
Yeah. Have you ever Googled yourself?
Excuse me?
Have you ever Googled yourself? Coach says rub one out to clear your head and shit after a tough game. Like, I'm just curious. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's I actually have a fan made a T-shirt up that said "Google me."
Beautiful.
But yeah, I
actually
Google.
did because I was curious to see what would pop up.
What's that?
I actually just did because I was curious to see what would pop up.
Yeah.
78th birthday, 6'3", 195, pro Canadian hockey player, winger. There you go.
Yeah. But
how did you come up with the name Zehr Pie?
Back in high school, well, I had a kid early, right? Like, I just turned 17, was a dad, and we were young and dumb and used to do dumb stuff, right? Kind of like when you're in grade school and you would get wood, you'd be like, look at, right? Like, right? So you're in high school and you're hooking up or doing whatever you're doing in high school, and that was the thing. Like the boys used to, because I was a bit wild, the boys used to love when I told them stories or I'd kiss and told, and
Sure.
so I went from hair pie to Zehr pie.
Like it. And that was the birth. The birthing.
Favorite hockey player?
Well, I had two. Like,
Okay.
I had two. Mario Lemieux and Bob Probert were my two boys.
Question. Will Ferrell or Vince Vaughn?
Probably Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell? God, I'm a Vince Vaughn guy. I love how he just talks himself out of corners.
Yes, Vince is very fast. He's very, like, he's on it. He's fast, and he could just go, and you kind of start turning your head like, slow down, boy.
Yeah.
Right? Where Will Ferrell can too, and like Vince Vaughn has played some half-decent roles in some movies, and he can do it all. Like, Vince is awesome. But Will Ferrell's tried to like play a more subdue and,
he really owns what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Will Ferrell is, he like more cowbell, like he don't care if he's naked in a thong running with supermodels. He don't care.
Little dirty plays, but what was your sort of a go-to if you were going to kind of really let somebody have it, before?
Oh, I know this one.
What was your favorite dirty play?
I know this one.
What?
You'd get scrap when you didn't really want to fight somebody, but you'd scrap anyways, and you gave the old slew foot.
Yeah, the old step around and
yeah.
What was your most memorable fight?
One of my favorites. There was a guy, I don't know if you know Michael Kiesman, if you guys know that.
No.
He was always, I fought him a lot. He was fun to fight because we were always, whenever he played in Roanoke in the coast, whenever we played against him, either him or I would be like, you want to get 5 minutes? Want to add 5 minutes to your stats? And they would be like, yeah, let's do it. And we always had like, not like when you fought, you fought to win. You didn't really fight to like hurt the guy, right? Like There were some guys that you hated.
Yeah.
Even the guys that you hated, like you wanted to win the fight by any means, whatever, but you never wanted to hurt them.
Yeah.
Like hurt them bad anyway. He was a guy like we just had fun. He was a bit of a donkey, but had like they were always good fights.
Here comes Vincent right wing side, inside by Carroll. Nemes with a big check. Puck comes right wing side. And the puck comes through center. Zehr trying to push with Nemes. The gloves come off and all in the feud. Zehr's throwing punches. Nemes trying to get position. Zehr just throwing them away. Zehr still trying to get in. He takes his helmet off and spins it along the ground.
Yeah.
You never asked me to go at center ice?
Who?
Me.
Did we go?
No.
I don't know.
Guys been in so many fights, you have no idea.
We were, so I was playing in New Orleans.
Okay, yeah.
And I intentionally flipped sides with Laser, Jeff Zehr, because you were starting, and I'm like, I gotta go start with my buddy here. And so I go over and I'm standing next to you, and you're like, fucking A, Ardot, you want to go?
Did I say that? That's funny. But we didn't go though.
No, you gave me the serious face, and then you started laughing, and I was laughing too.
And I remember Belsey going, I'm going all body, and he legit went all body shots. And I remember that chair, I think he went to the hospital. He had to, because he was puking up, coughing up blood. You're not going to dangle with the puck for 8 seconds anytime in any league, right? And you're not going to do flips and, this whatever stuff that you're doing with all, that's just for your hands and the trigger. It's more so like your small area games and your battles, and like that's the shit you need to work on, because you have that 1 second to make up your mind, and it's literally 1 second. Do I pass? Do I shoot? Do I dump? That's what the game is. It's so fast, like so.
Thanks for doing this, Zehr Pie. Appreciate it, man.
No problem. It's fun. It's always fun to chat with the boys.
That's right. And if you want to check out, are you going to keep rolling with that?
What, Forzies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll as much as what I can.
What's Forzies?
So at 4:00 every day, there's a former business owner, a team owner that lives a couple blocks from us. When we moved to this area in Woodstock, he was like at 4:00 every day, me and the wife have like a glass of wine or talk about the day or have a beer or whatever. So all of a sudden, boom, this Corona COVID stuff hits and you have nothing to do. And it's like airport rules. Like you want to have a beer at 9 a.m., have a beer at 9 a.m. because like you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. Like it is what it is, right? So we kind of took the spin of Forzies, 4:00, have a little a hoot of scotch or a beer or a coffee or whatever heavy, right? So this Forzies I've just kind of taken to going on at 4:00 and doing a live video and kind of just seeing what everybody's saying or what they want to say or talk about the news or the COVIDs or let's have a drink together. And some days I've coffee or a water and other days I've had a cigar sitting on the back deck with a little scotch to swish around with it. Like it is what it is, right?
I don't know how you do that. I asked for like an 8-ball and probably some weed, and I don't know how to do it. I don't understand what we're doing here. Can you just give it to me?
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, it's that's how it is.
That's awesome. What's the hardest you've been chirped? Or like, what's your favorite chirp? I went to the BC for like the first time, and of course, like, you know how it is in camp with anybody without like a name bar, you don't get your old jersey or whatever, like all the vets, they just drop the gloves and just start teeing off. My first game, we're playing against Victoria. Tyler Bozak was on that team. And so right after I called my dad, thank God I wasn't the first line out there, but these guys just absolutely annihilated all of our rookies or whatever. But probably like one of the first games, there's a kid, I forget what his name was, in the team. I can't remember right now for some reason. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, it was my first shift out there, and he literally like just turned my jersey around. He's just like, never heard of you.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, you fucking asshole. I'm like, I had like 128 points this season before. I'm like, well, we watched video on you fucking dick. Yeah. So that was my taste of juniors right off the bat.
Ardot, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember playing against Rick Jackman when he was up in the Sioux?
I have a funny story about that guy staying at his house one summer. Yeah, I remember that.
Rick Jackman, Jacker.
He won a cup.
Yeah. Were you up in the Sioux when Jeff Simpson, when our equipment guy was chirping Jacks about not making?
Forgot Simps. Bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
You remember he was chirping Jackman, and Jackman went over to his bench and brought back his World Junior medals and was like, see, this is World Junior medals. This is a quote, whatever. And he went back, and I just remember going, oh, my God. And Simper was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not talking ever again. No more chirps.
You remember when we put the freaking bale of hay on his seat on the bus?
Yeah. Oh, you're an idiot back in the day.
Oh, man, that's classic. Yeah. Good stuff.